This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, hello everyone, and happy summer is coming. At least for me it is. And I am going to be your solo person today and focusing on actually my new book. The new book is called How to Create a $1 Million Speech. I've done it, and I know you can do it. And here's what we're going to do is walk you through some of the processes of how you build up to speaking to really making a full-blown career that absolutely will support your words that you write as well as the words that can flow out of your mouth. And the end result is, guess what? You sell a lot of books. So let's kind of wrap this up. Why speak? Because the public in a specific sector needs and wants your message, your smarts, and your expertise. Because you can solve problems and provide answers that a group or an individual needs. Because you can meet amazing people. Because you can go places you never imagined. Because it can be enormously fun and exciting. And because you can sell lots of your books. You can make money with your ideas, with the words that spell out of your mouth, and I'm going to welcome you to my world, one that I've lived in for over 40 years. So hopefully that will entice you to really think about this, not only as an add-on, but really as a viable option to move you forward. Now, before I get into maybe some of the structuring, because there certainly is structuring, and I do a boot camp twice a year, that I do it in March, and I do it in November. The one, March is certainly past, but the one slated for November will be the 9th and 10th. And if you're interested in coming and spending 2 intense days, I mean, we're talking hot seats, one-on-one. I always keep the boot camp small in this area for the unplugs. It's called Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged. It'll be in Denver, Colorado. You can get all the details on my website, thebookshepherd.com. Just click on events. So let's jump into the cost of speaking, because you know what? There is a cost. And I think what's important to realize that when you focus, you'll finish. And if you don't, and this is like putting this together, because it really starts with putting a game plan together. Things are going to get in the way. Life gets in the way. The squirrel factor may get in the way. So starting down that path, you really have got to take a look at a few things. And looking at those, changes and ads could be a couple $100, but it could be many thousands, depending on what needs to be done. So let's start about your website. You need a makeover, possibly. You certainly need some add-ons to bring along with that. You should have a speaking tab specifically on your website. In that tab, you need photos. You should have a sizzle reel or a video reel. And there's all kinds of ways that you can make those spending buku bucks and also many dollars, which I think is always the best. And you can use resources like Animoto, that you could make just a 10-slide slip for a few dollars, or you could go ahead and become a subscriber and make them snap, crackle, and pop. You can have someone come in. Maybe you're doing an event locally that you can get someone who has got some video skills Not just, your hubby who's going to shoot you on your iPhone. Don't do that. But someone can shoot you with close-ups, and we'll get that, because all you need is a few minutes, just a few minutes. So shooting you in an hour presentation, I promise you there's going to be some gems in there. So your facial expressions, you'll hear audience reaction, maybe a shot of the audience reacting to you. Those are the kind of things you want to think about. Right, then you need a media kit, and all authors need a media kit, not only for the book, for them as the author, but for speaking. So what's going to go in the media kit for the speaker? Introductions. That will be a classic. Introductions, and I would have a short one and a medium one, not a long one. The last thing in the world you want is to have an introducer that's going to take longer to introduce you than the time of your talk. And believe me, I've been in those situations. So you want to have it in large font, 14 to 16 point. You're going to do it double spaced. You're going to have maybe a little fun fact about you. Forget about all the academic degrees and all those kind of things. This is not relevant in most cases. That if a doctorate of any sort, you can certainly be introduced as Dr. Judith Briles. I have a PhD in business. So you can do those kind of things. But make it short, make it snappy, have a couple of fun facts in it, and that would be on your website. Now, by the way, as a speaking gig, you always carry it with you too, because you never know. Sometimes they'll go up and find your bio somewhere, and they'll print it out, and they'll read this thing. That's not what you're after here. Certainly have a bio, short, medium, and long. What's short? 50 words or less. What's medium? 100 words or less. What's long? It could be 200 to 400 words. You never know about a group that could copy paste. You want to have high resolution photos. Must have this. This all goes in your media kit. Now, with that, other things that you're going to need to assist you in your speaker life is some type of customer management software. When I was actively on the road, we used something called ACT, A-C-T. There's a variety of them. Just go in and go to the Google, and just look for the best customer management software and start doing some reviews this way. You're going to need marketing materials. And this will be kudos, people who say you are a rock star. You're going to need a one sheet, and a one sheet would have a short area of what your expertise is. Make sure you use numbers in it. For example, I've been on over 1,000 in radio, TV shows. I would not spell out 1,000. I would put 1,000. If you're an author of multiple books, how many books? If you have foreign rights, where are you out in that part of the area? And you may need some coaches to help you in this process, a speaking coach to help you get better. I know years and years and years ago when I started on this road, I was active in a variety of organizations, but I actually invested in a storytelling coach. Storytelling is so important in speaking. And I spent 2 days with this individual to help me choreograph stories that I would use as opening, as closing, and certainly to augment key points in any presentation, whether it was a 45 to a 60-minute keynote to, a multi-hour workshop. Always stories count. So it's a lot of work. It's exciting. Now, what would I look in a game plan, or a speaker game plan, which is what I would put together? And in a speaker game plan is something like I do a visual. I put it up on the wall. I use sticky notes, and I do those kind of things. But I'll literally start with, all right, so what's the theme? What's the premise of my talk? What's the key points? And those are all going to go in one area. And this is just, I'm very visual. I don't know if you are. The majority of people are. And that's how I work. So I put it up on the wall. I'll play around with it. I can eyeball it. I can move it. I can write on it. And I have a column with theme and key points. Then I have another column with remind me, who is my ideal audience? Who am I going to speak to? Who do I want to market my speaking services to? And so that's where it's not everyone, by the way. Is it female? Is it male? Is there an age group? Is there a culture that you're going to be specifically talking to? Is there an industry that you will be going for? Get those down so you know them, and you can start to develop your stories to match those people. And then I have another column with, okay, so how am I going to market it? Now, if we have time, we'll get into one of my key areas during this hour, which is I marketed almost exclusively at events. I mean, let me just say this, that a lot of times people get stuck with, I don't have the degrees to do this. How can I possibly do that? Most speakers' degrees come from life. So I like to say this, it doesn't matter if you have an MBA or a PhD. What you have to be is GOOD. That's the degree I'm going for. And your good comes from your experiences, being in the trenches. It's not from usually an academic type of environment. That's what people want to hear. How did you make it? How did you survive? How did you pull yourself up when all things were going to hell? That's what they're looking for. That's your degree. All right, so who are you going to market that to, and how are you going to go doing that? That's important. And then it's always important to have a column with why you, what brings you to the party. That's all those goodies, those degrees that you brought along. And then how are you going to communicate with people, potential meeting planners who could bring you in? And of course, then there's your website. What resources do you need to have to put you together? You want to have really a point of all your stories. And I want you to go back to when you were a kiddo. Some of those stories that happened to you when you were a kid might be the perfect augment to a point. Use your stuff, not other people's stuff. And then what videos, photos you need, and then your key point of what you're going to be your opening story, what's your closing story. And if you're doing multiple talks, you'll probably have different ones for different presentations. And with that, we'll be right back. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you or another? AuthorU will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join AuthorU today through its website at AuthorU.org. Follow AuthorU on Twitter at AuthorU and on Facebook at AuthorU, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. AuthorU, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
So how do you start your buzz factor? Have you ever thought about that? How do you really get it going? And creating a buzz about you as a potential speaker is essential in building your reputation and filling your calendar. It's kind of summed down to that kind of nutshell. So it all starts with knowing who your market is and focusing on where they hang out. You need to know where they are. What professional magazines do they read? What journals do they read? What associations do they belong to? Or events do they attend? What kind of media do they watch? And what book awards might benefit you to bring in? So when it comes to creating that press or media release, which is something that you will get involved in doing, you want to know about some things that will kickstart that buzz factor. So one thing is to follow bloggers who are like-minded and know and are known in your right now area of expertise. And certainly have your own blog. Make sure that you create an opt-in piece that will tie around your expertise that you would encourage people to go to. And of course, the person that will sign up for this becomes now, hopefully, a raving fan of yours. Where does the opt-in piece go? Right on the very top of the at least the upper half, somewhere in that on your website as you put that in. All right, so you have that. Now, other things you want to do is that you want make sure of your blog. I mentioned that. Do that on a consistent basis, and you push it out. Discover something like HARO, H-A-R-O, Help a Reporter Out. They're always looking for experts in a variety of areas. It's pretty tight the way it gets put together, and you will find you have a pen pal, an email pen pal, because they put out pushes 2 to 3 times a day. But you can scan it in, 10, 15 seconds max to see if anything in there might fit for you. When you do get a media inquiry, make sure that you respond to them quickly. Not tomorrow, like within the hour of some sort, because usually reporters, when they're looking for help for anybody on this area, that you want to make sure that they have they're able to. Sorry about that. That they are able to get in and respond in a very quick response. They're on deadlines. They're tight. So you want to make sure that you have that. So keep there. So if you're of a niche, you want to identify any trade journals or associations that you can actually pitch an article to include. And, of course, you're going to have a signature tagline that always refers to you as an expert in blah, 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 and that they can come back and reach out to you. And then you want to have maybe an e-zine, which is easy to create. And at worst case, you can go to something like Paperly, paper.li, and create one that curates not only from your information, but some of your other information. And of course, there's the book. And the book is what you create with your buzz, with who and what you're all about, which is always very, very cool. Now, so that's essential in putting this part of it together as you go along. The other thing is that authors ask me almost from the get-go, what should I charge? And or should I just do free? And the answer is no, not just do free. There are times when we all do free, things that we're passionate about, that we support, we care, that we want to donate our time to on that. But you have to limit yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to go far here. And you do need to establish a fee from the get-go. The lower you are, most people will recognize this is a maybe inexperienced or a newbie person. So you've really got to look at what's normal in the area. I would be looking at my competitors. You can go to the Google and you put in the name of the competitor and speaking fee and see what pops up, and you'll see ranges. Now, I'm not going to recommend that you ever put your speaking fees on your website. Don't do that, because one of the questions you've got to always ask is, what's the budget? What is the budget that you're working with? Because that'll give you a range of where you can go, and you don't need to go certainly low. But rarely do I see speakers coming out. I mean, newbie gets her feet in the water is $500. If you're doing school visits, if you're an author who speaks at schools, you're going to be much lower. It's a much different area. I did healthcare internal and training and things, and there was a budget that was really kissed at $5,000 most times. That was where they came in for what they did. And again, you've got to figure that out. Of what to charge, but you want to ask, and you want to go into really look at what your own expertise is. I mean, didn't you write a book on this topic? Aren't you an expert? Did you get an advanced degree to support it? Have you had any amazing trauma experience or adversity that you've overcome? Those are all worth a lot of money on that. So just think about that, but I would never go out for less than 500. I would move it up very quickly to 1,000, 2,500, and start moving it up as you go along. And again, you need to know there are ceilings in certain industries, so you're going to have to kind of figure that out with your stealthing as you figure out where people are going there. I think it's really important for you to feel passionate about a group that you're speaking to, that you've got some connection, that you know something about them. For when I did freebies, I had my area that I had to feel either passionate or that I feel that there is someone in the audience that really could hire me at what my regular fee was. And I would do, I would max out what I would do per year at the number 10. That was the max. Now, there's something you should know about called niche speaking. Now, some people call it niche, all kinds of different variants, but the power of being a selective speaker. Highly successful speakers know what their niche is and where it hangs out, where it can be found. And you become known as the go-to expert in the field. So one of the areas, I had two really areas that I came from. One was finance, that I spent 10 years in finance, and I could talk about investments and tap dance at the same time. And the other really dealt with toxic people in the workplace, conflict resolution. And it narrowed down to female-dominated workplaces and narrowed down again to the healthcare. Right? So when you can narrow it down, what it does is you become that go-to expert. And that's when the real power lies. And when you can do that you'll be the one that they want for the keynotes. And that's where the bigger bucks come in, by the way, all the time on that. So understand that. The power of niching, of knowing this is exactly where I'm going to be going. I'm not going any place else. This is where my wheel is, so to speak. Then you have to really look at how you brand yourself. Branding could involve colors. It could involve style. It could involve a certain type of storytelling capability. It could be using props. It can be a variety of things. But what it is that when people see what you're displaying, they instantly know what it is. They know who it's connected to. And of course, who? It's you. It's you. All right. So what kind of tools does this speaker need? And there could be a lot. And it's one of the tools is a website. We mentioned that on our first segment with you. But it also needs to have titles for your presentations that snap, crackle, and pop. For your website, it's got to open up, quickly. And the one sheet that I mentioned, the colors I always use are plums, purples, chartreuses, lime green, those kind of colors. And so my one sheet is very pops with that. And it's only got 3 testimonials. Now, I can tell you in the old days, I had sheets of testimonials from different industries that I was working with. And it may make sense if you're more of a general speaker that you do speak to, there could be corporate, there could be medical, there could be customer service type people, there could be technology, that you probably do want to have on your one sheet, maybe cherry pick from a key person from each one. But in addition, and this would go on your website in your speaking package towards meeting planners, that you would have a page, and I would put these pages on PDFs. You want to have a page that would have kudos from an individual, what their function was, and tied in with whether it's association or corporate, whatever they are, have each one specific. And that way, if someone who is interested in you is from a hospital association, they're not really going to care about the corporate side in what you did in technology. They're going to be more interested in, what was the response from the healthcare field. And that's just very common. It's a smart thing to have there. Make sure, as I said, that video clip is a must-have. Make sure that you have got good takeaways for anyone who is visiting the website that they're looking at, and that they can pull it all together that way. Remember that your website's a portal for you as they find you, as they go to that, and they need to be able to easily navigate it. They can get to it and everything they're looking for very quickly. And by the way, they're looking for a reason not to hire you. You want to have reasons that you are the one. And with that, we'll be right back. It's AuthorU, Your Guide to Book Publishing. I'm Judith Briles, and the new book is How to Create a $1 Million Speech.
This is Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Want to publish like a pro today? Well, then take a look at Ingram Spark, the only publishing platform that offers print and ebook services through a single source. Upload, edit, and manage titles all in one place. Take more control of printing costs with print on demand, and reach even more readers through one of the world's most extensive distribution networks. Built by independent publishers for independent publishers, Ingram Spark has everything you need to maximize your book's potential: color printing, ebook distribution, print on demand, global reach, and more. Start publishing with Ingram Spark today and see just how far your titles will go tomorrow. That's ingramspark.com.
Many of us have dreamed of writing a book.
Some of us even have.
Then the hard work starts.
You'll need an editor.
Who will design the cover or typeset the pages?
Who will format the ebook?
If you're a business owner, consultant, or coach with a serious message and expertise to share, the team of experts at 1106 Design can guide you through the maze.
They've helped more than 1,000 authors create top-quality books and avoid the not-so-reputable self-publishing companies.
Learn more at 1106design.com.
Then call Michelle at 602-866-3226. 1106 Design.
When Ed Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Alrighty, so we're halfway through talking about speaking on your book, but also just speaking as a living. It's work. Let me tell you, it's work. Being on the road all the time, it's tough on your body. I was gone 150 days a year when I was really aggressively out there. But with that said, there's amazing things as I opened up with because. Amazing people, amazing places, amazing events, amazing experiences. So with that, how do you let people know that you're available to do all these things? And we've gone through several already. I want to loop back to the one sheet as we had it, because that really is an essential part. This is what meeting planners are going to look for you in creating that. It's a snapshot of you, what you do, and who you are. So it's something it's sometimes referred to as like a pitch sheet. But as I said, it's really that overall snapshot. It should have a little eye candy. It should have maybe images, some call outs, maybe a sidebar, bubbles, colors. I think I shared with you that I use bright purples and chartreuses, but here's what it's going to have on it. And also I should say this, don't expect to whip this thing up in a few minutes. It takes a while. It's a crafting type of thing. So it's going to have what your expertise is and claims. It's going to have those images. It's going to have at least one picture of you, current picture of you. And it needs to be a decent picture. I'm all for having a professional shoot. It could be casual. It could be you on the platform, but have it done that really makes it have a pop and certainly high resolution. It needs to have your contact information, and it's just not, here's my email. I want you to put a phone number on there. You've got to have an email. I would even make sure you have a snail mail type of address. It needs to have bragging rights to it. So this is where those numbers, remember I said earlier at the top of the hour that I had been on 1,000 radio and TV shows. Now, I could add Oprah, I could add, Wall Street Journal, I could add People Magazine. I don't have all that in there, but the number is 1,000. And when you do bragging rights, you're after numbers, numerical numbers, not spelled out numbers. So that one of your homework assignments is I want you to start thinking these achievements, these events that you've gone through. How many people have you already spoken to? What's that amount to? How many articles have you written? How many blogs have you pushed out? How many radio shows have you been on? And that line. All right. So for example, I've hosted over 400 radio shows. That's a lot. That's a lot of hours. Right. So writing for the buyer is essential. So when you're writing this, you're doing it in the third person, but it's that pitch. So you've got to have some kind of call to action within it. Have a couple of testimonials. You want to have a graphic designer involved in here so it doesn't look like something you whipped off on your computer. I know that there's buku templates that you can pull from, but this is really where you want an expert to really put it together. And then lastly, it needs to have a really good ease of reading in there. So that's kind of how I would put it together. And I actually settled down and finally put together an updated one, let's say, in last year. So we're in 2018, so it was last year. And it had a few evolutions, but it was really kind of fun as we did it. And as I was seeing it produced, it was really very, very cool. All right, so with that said, I want to jump to some marketing ideas for you, because this is really where it can get exciting on that. And I mean, probably the last thing that you want to think about is, oh no, now I got to get on the phone. This is what I got to do. Yeah, but I'm going to give you a really side thing that worked so effectively for me. In fact, when I was writing this up for the new book, How to Create $1 Million Speech, I kind of went through step by step, and showed people how to do it, but it's literally the power of using postcards. So it was a combination, and we had a variety of things that we did, but that I was on the road. People would say, gee, we'd love to bring you in, which is, of course, referral is what you want to get to. But what if they don't know you? Okay, so here's where a postcard could work. You want to start developing lists, whether you use an Excel sheet. I mean, you may use a yellow pad. Whatever you do, I would certainly try to get you a little bit more computerized here. And then again, I mentioned the customer management software is ideal. But you start names, titles, who they're with. You get these into categories. Phone numbers, emails when you can start figuring out what they are, and address, snail mail address. Now, here's why I like postcards. They're cheap. They're 35 cents to mail, where a first class envelope is 50 cents. And the reason why they work so well is that you have these, number one, on the front side would most likely be your book cover. But what if you're not sure about that yet? Hey, here's some other ideas. How about making a word cloud? All your keywords, maybe a key phrase. Maybe your name needs to be in here too. What your expertise is. You can make a word cloud and make a postcard front just with that. And in fact, that's a good option just to have as one of many postcards. Book cover would be one for sure. A word cloud. Maybe there's something significant that would tie in. For example, one of my clients is a retired helicopter pilot. One of my favorite pictures of her is when she was in the cockpit of the chopper as she was flying. Okay, that could go. I mean, that's just say, why would someone send me a postcard like this? Turn it over. On the other side, you've got already pre-printed up your expertise, why you're an ideal speaker. You leave a little space for when they can write it up. You can write maybe a personal one-line note. You can't get too much in here, but a one-line note. And then your contact information. Now, you ideally want to get 4 postcards because there's going to be this rotation that happens on this. So my deal was that I would start calling people after I met them. They gave me their cards or whatever. I accumulated names, and I would place a phone call. 80% of the time, you're not going to get them. 80% of the time, that it's going to be voicemail. True? So here's what I would do. I would already have a postcard. I'd have a stack of them. And I did this. I only did marketing an hour to 2 hours a day when I was in the office. I didn't no other time. I would be dialing, listening to their voice message. I'm already handwriting the postcard to who I am going to leave a voicemail for. And I leave a short message. Keep it short, these voicemail messages. I leave it very short. Then what I would do is I would have this message already written up, a one line, look forward to talking to you, or whatever it was. Or it could be, I'll be in Iowa the week of, let's talk about doing a presentation for you. All right? Something like that. And then I would just put it aside. I would also then hang up the phone, and after I left my verbal message, I've now finished the postcard message. That's 1, 2, 3. I'd go to my customer management service and write a note of the date and what postcard I sent. All right? And then I would mail it. At the same time, if I would find an email address, if I had an email address for the person, I would send an email too. So it was a kind of a, phone call, postcard, mailed it, email, positioned into my software database, and with a call-out date a week to 10 days out. Repeat, all right? That was just the repeat, and we'd do that, all right? And we'd send them out. Now, why postcards? Because they don't have to open them, and they look good. They look good. I mean, you're going to do color both sides. And by the way, on the back of your postcard, please make sure you have a return address, because you have a wrong address, it'll come back to you and you'll know it. And then you get on the phone to follow up what is the correct address. I'm going to guarantee this will work. You can send it to people you've never met. If you're the right fit for their group, if you've got the right verbiage on your postcard and a call to action, you will get some reaction. And as we go to our final break here, that one person I had called who had met me said, we want to have you. I could never get a hold of her. Her secretary answered the phone. And she said, my boss has had your postcard on her desk for 3 months. She put me through, the gig was booked. Postcards, they hold on to them. How cool is that? We'll be right back. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider, or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd. If you want to create a book with no regrets, give her a call today. 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
One of the
most important decisions you will ever make is your choice for printing your book. You are choosing a company which will be responsible for guiding you through the process and printing your book at a level of quality and detail that embraces your personal and creative needs. You want to choose a company that when your book finally arrives, you are delighted and ready to move on to the next level, and one that is customer focused. Choose King Printing Company and Addy Books to be that company that brings you to the next level. Go to kingprinting.com or call 978-458-2345 and ask for Tom Campbell.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so as we do our wrap-up here, there's a few things, because there's so much more to be involved in and that I've gone through, just kissed on in the speaking arena. But it is a business, just like publishing is a business. And that one thing you need to have is a contract. Now, in How to Create a $1 Million Speech, I have a whole chapter on contracts. And I should say this is a part of my AuthorU-Your mini guide series. So it's a 5x7 format. It's full color throughout. The Shivi guys are back and doing different things and recommending different areas. And those of you of my other books will know what I mean. But that it's easy to use. So when I say a contract, I don't want you to roll your eyes here. And it's not all in legalese, although I had an attorney put mine together originally. What I've done is broken it up. I'll give it to you in the book. And I've broken it all up. And I've put together segments, literally, and I explain each one. That, here's the agreement to engage a speaker, here's where you fill in the blank on it, and what my requirements are. These are, what my requirements are. You need to put your requirements are. If you have educational materials, which, by the way, means you have books for sale, you want to put in there that you need to have space to do that. I'll tell you, ideally, it's out by registration, because people go back and forth the registration all the time, and they always have to catch you. If you can only be set up during your talk or like 10 minutes after, it's not going to work. You need to be out in the hallway, and you are going to hang out. You're going to spend the day at whatever the event is, or as long as the event's going on, because this is the way you connect. This is the way you're going to get your referrals and the like. Right? You're going to have a section, of course, about money. Now, you're going to specify exactly what the speaking fee is, and you're going to require a 50% deposit. Please do this, because that means there's a commitment on their part on that. And the gig is not considered a gig until you get the signed contract back and your deposit. And then with the balance due at the time of the event, and you're going to have included, they will cover any travel related expenses, your hotel, any food and all that. Now, this is not the time for you to be outrageous, of course. But a lot of speakers insist on first class. I just flew coach. It was fine for me, and I could always upgrade myself on long legs. And that I always went to their events and ate whatever their food was that they had, and just really became part of the group on that. I would lay out in what the client is specifically responsible for, and then, where's the gig? What's the number? What numbers do we call? Who do we call for emergencies? What's the venue, site? That kind of thing. Who would you call? Now, one of the things is the reason why you want to get a deposit and you want to get their money at the gig. So if you have bills for the airfare, you're going to shoot those along. So they have all of that there. They'll pay for the hotel. They can put it on their master, or they can put a credit card up for it. And any food. They can get that taken care of, but you spell that out in your contract. If you don't get paid at the time of the gig, I'm going to tell you it will average 45 days to get paid. Because, you may be you could have been a rock star. They loved you. But, the event's over. You're out of sight, out of mind. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. All right. The other thing I think is always a plus to do is I had a pre-programmed questionnaire that I sent out to clients. And again, in how to create a $1 million speech, you're getting my full questionnaire. I've just included everything in there. So this was the organization, what my contact name was, the phone, faxes, street address, etc. I wanted all that. I would want to know how many people they planned on attending. I would want to know what percentage of women to men in there. I would want to know then, question would be, what are the top 3 challenges? I want to know the meeting purpose. What are the top 3 challenges their group or their attendees are facing right now today? What are the 3 most important things that they want to make sure that I know about the group and attendees? Is there any inside information or humor or color that I should know about that I could incorporate and use? Are there any topics that are taboo and should be avoided? I would want to know what do they want me to accomplish for the group, and I want to know who they've had in the past. What topics have they covered in the past? If there's anyone else speaking that day that I'm speaking, who are they and what are they speaking on? And I want to know what's going to be happening just before I speak, and what do they have planning, anything else. And then I always add in, is there anything else that they think I should know that would make sure that our program was tip-top and one that would have the buzz and that they would want me to take away. Now, there's a whole bunch of related marketing ideas that we could go through, which would be absolutely another program. And I think I'll probably do that one, a whole thing on marketing for speakers. Besides just postcards, that's one way of it. But all the other elements that can go into play. But here's some, as we do a wrap up, because this is our final segment here. Here's some takeaways that I would have, that were reminders that I would go through. Before anything was ever booked, before I ever had a gig, I would remind myself I needed to practice. And I would practice, I would do different things. And I'm not talking about in front of the mirror, which you certainly can, to see what your facial expressions are and that kind of thing. I didn't memorize really much of anything, because I use slides and that kind of, and I would have just a couple of words, and I'm off and running. I would have a good memory on my opening and closing talks, stories, and other key stories. Those I would really work up, because that is a choreograph of how you present, even how you move around on a stage on that. But other than that, it was my topic. And I only spoke on the books I wrote. And I only wrote on the things I spoke about. And that's, you have to be very careful that you don't get pulled in a direction, that someone says, gee, we want you to speak on, say, time management. Oh, I don't speak on time management. But Judith, you really handle a lot and you do that. And I said, yeah, but I also work 60 to 70 hours a week. So I'm not the person to do time management for you. You want someone who wants to do the 4-hour day. Maybe that's what you want. So, pre your gig, you got to be good. And that means your practice. Secondly, you got to be flexible. You got to be very flexible. You've got to build on your expertise. I want you to publish a book. If you have one, get it finished. If you're in the process, get it finished. If you already have it published, start on another one. You need new material all the time. You want to deal with what's the current buzz, or the problem that will be topical, tie in with you. And then that's your market. You want to drill down into it. And then you want to speak to related groups. Meeting planners talk. And if they talk and you're good, they talk about you. And this is one of the ways that you will get brought in. Your website needs to be looked at. Is it meeting planner ready? And you really need to be honest about it. And does it have all the goodies that I mentioned in the first 15 minutes here of things that you need on your website? That's really where you want to be building. And I would encourage you to go to thebookshepherd.com. You'll see I do have a speaking tab there. And then I think it's always good to understand who you speak for, who you're comfortable with. And don't go out of that area until you really can do this thing blindfolded. Always be curious about your industry. If you're niching yourself, which I would encourage you to do, is that you subscribe to some of the key magazines in there. You look at things online, so you start getting the jargon in your bloodline on that. Make sure you create that one sheet. And don't underestimate what I told you about in the last segment about postcard power. It's so strong, and start developing them now. And a lot of times people think, well, I can't think about speaking before I have my book. No. Start speaking now. You can pre-sell your book. I mean, commonly I would have 300 to 400 books sold before my book was printed, and I'd have it ready to go. And remember that there's something that we call the rule of 8. What is the rule of 8? You're going to take that 8 times to connect with a person who said that they thought you were the best thing since sliced bread, but they're busy, and they don't get back to you. So these are just a few of the things. I think you can rock and roll and have a great time speaking. I know I did, but it does take work. It does take practice. You are going to stumble sometimes. You're going to find out sometimes audiences, you're thinking, oh my God, why did I accept this gig? It happens. You just have to go to what's next. So I'm going to encourage all of you, get a copy of How to Create a $1 Million Speech. It's available on Amazon, and it's both in e and print. I'll be doing the audio here shortly. And with that, we'll bid you happy publishing, happy writing.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week